During the self-rule period, regions in the colonies such as Kavirondo, Kenya Province and Rift Valley were allowed to have their own autonomous governments. Daniel Moi was already ruling as president of the Rift Valley since 1959, shortly after the Mau Mau War. Michael Blundell was leader of the British imperialists organization, known as the Colonists Association, and he was also the vice president in the Kadu coalition government which was led by Daniel Moi. Meanwhile, Oginga Odinga pushed for a unified state with reduced autonomy for the regions. Moi demanded that a section of native land in the Rift Valley be transferred to his jurisdiction before they recognize Oginga's monarchy in the Rift Valley. Daniel Moi, the African president of Rift Valley, and Johnson Karadio of Kavirondo delivered their territories under Oginga's monarchy, and the regions became provinces of Kenya during the self-rule period. Johnson Karadio was appointed by Oginga Odinga as the regional president of Kavirondo, a position previously held by Oginga himself. During that time, Oginga had claimed much of native territory for the Kavirondo. The native Luos had by now assimilated Luo-speaking Kavirondo, while the Saniaka were now called Bantu as they spoke similar dialects as non-Luo-speaking natives. The name Kavirondo applied to a small factions of the Luos, Kisi and Luya, who were not native to the land. Oginga Odinga was the leader of the Kavirondo living in northern Nyanza among the native Luo and Luyas. Johnson Karadio led the Kavirondo and Saniaka of southern Nyanza, such as a section of Kisi and Sweta among other assimilated populations. Under Oginga's instruction, Karadio transferred much of native territories in the Rift Valley to Daniel Moi's administration on Oginga's orders. Consequently, the natives were confined to the less productive areas, closer to the shores of Lake Victoria. The entire Mau escarpment, and much of the Rift Valley, was then set aside by Oginga's monarchy and his Irish benefactors to resettle the foreign populations. This calculated alteration of boundaries would lead to eruption of clashes between native populations and the squatters who now posed as the natives of the land. The Akiwumi Report records how actions of Daniel Moi and Johnson Karadio led to eruption of land-related tribal wars in Kenya. The Akiwumi Report was prepared by Judicial Commission, mandated to inquire about the 1991 tribal wars. They established that there was a well-planned ethnic violence targeting the Luos and other natives. It was planned by top government officials, coordinated by senior security officers and implemented by well-armed gangs. At the end of the tribal wars, the natives were completely driven out of the Rift Valley and the land they were evicted from was repossessed by Oginga Odinga. The land-related tribal clashes against the natives are ongoing. Following the declaration of Ruto as president after the 2022 election, the squatters, under the supervision of senior security officers in coordination with Kalenjin political leadership, have launched series of attack on Luo-speaking natives based in Sandu, Nyakach area of Kisumu County. The violence against the native populations was part of the imperialist conspiracy, since the days of Charles Eliot, who said that he was not interested in protecting Massaidum, and that Massaidum must go under. The legislative Lancaster House conferences were organized by the imperialists. They gathered to create constitution for their colonies. These were regions previously colonized by the imperialist. At some point, the imperialists passed administration of the colonies to the British government. However, the Westminster Statute of 1931 stopped the British government's involvement in the administration of the said colonies, yet the imperialists did not have the capacity to run their administration. Therefore, the imperialists resolved to grant them self-rule, even though Kenya was never a colony of the imperialists. Delegations from Kenya, representing different factions of the Kenyan populace, attended the legislative Lancaster House conferences. Their political activities in Kenya were being facilitated by certain imperialists and certain religious institutions. A group of elite natives led by Tom Mboya and Arguings Kodek attended the conferences as they were inspired by their own selfish interests or as a result of their involvement with the imperialists. During this